So as always, hello once again YouTube. The time right now is 7:20 p.m. Eastern Time on August the 22nd, and I've got a few things to talk about. First and foremost, I'm not going to be picking on Antifa this evening. I think they kind of do enough by themselves to warrant the obvious that they're a bunch of morons. But in any case, this quick little video, or however long it's going to last, is definitely not about them. This is going to be primarily about the president's speech last night, my thoughts on it, and a little bit as to what I foresee happening. And, this is just coming from myself, the average Joe, and I think it's kind of important that I first clarify my personal stance on this. First and foremost, I am not a Democrat. Secondly, which some people don't know, and you might find it kind of surprising, I'm not a Republican either. I am actually a registered member of the Independent Party. Now, with that said, in our previous presidential election, I will be completely honest and say that I voted for President Trump. I didn't really like the idea of a corrupt criminal like Hillary Clinton being in charge of our country, and to be perfectly honest, I felt that was going to be absolutely disastrous had that come to pass. Thankfully, it did not. Now, on to the big thing, which was the president's speech last night. For those of you that missed it, he kind of put on the table some of the plans for Afghanistan. Now, a little background history on myself. I served 9 years in the U.S. military. I served in the Army, and I also served in the Marine Corps. So I've been around the world a little bit, and I've been to Iraq multiple times. In fact, the time that I served was from 2002 on through to 2011. I've been to Iraq multiple times, and I was even in Afghanistan once. So what I'm going to hit on are just what I thought were key points, just for myself personally. One of the biggest things that I liked was that he said, things were going to start to happen in Afghanistan, or he kind of hinted toward that. He didn't really say directly, hey, this is what's going to happen, which I thought was a very smart idea. If you're going to go into a possible armed conflict with somebody, you don't want to tell them what it is you're planning to do. He did say that we will, as a nation, attack. He did not say when. Again, that's very smart. Right now, you've got Al-Qaeda and the Taliban and ISIS over in that area going, okay, we need to get ready for something to happen, but we have no idea exactly when this is going to happen. He didn't say how many troops were going to go over there. Again, that is a very key piece of information that they were probably hoping that he was going to say, and he did not. The rumors right now going around from what I've heard are anywhere between 4,000 to 40,000. I don't know which one it's going to be, and to be perfectly honest, myself as just a regular U.S. citizen at this point, I'm no longer a member of the military. It's not information that I rightly need to know. Another thing that he didn't say was how long these type operations, or whatever type of operations he's planning, are going to last. That was a very big mistake that our former boss, I really don't like calling him our former president. I personally felt that Obama was more of a dictator than he was a president, but it is the title that he holds, that he formerly held. He was voted into the office, and then he was reelected. I didn't vote for him either time, but enough people did that he was in there. But a key mistake that he made was he said, hey, not only are we going to send a surge of people in there, of X number of thousands of people, I don't recall the exact number that he gave, but he also gave a timetable. He said, hey, we're going to be out of there within so many months. That told Al-Qaeda, that told the Taliban that, hey, guys, if we go into hiding or we just hold out for X number of months, they're going to be gone. And as soon as the vast majority of our combat troops were gone out of Iraq, what happened? Major cities that we had fought long and hard, not only to seize from the terrorists, but to keep from the terrorists, they got back. I was absolutely heartbroken, and I cried. I quite literally cried when I found out that Fallujah had fallen under control of ISIS. I spent a lot of time in that city, and they were 4 good friends of mine who died in the defense of that city. And it was absolutely heartbreaking and crushing to hear that we had lost it. Now, I jumped up and down for joy when I heard that we got it back, or I should say that the Iraqi people got it back. But, again, he didn't say how long we were going to be there. That, of course, being President Trump. He didn't say how long we were going to be there. Key pieces of information, he's not telling our enemy. Good for him. He's receiving a lot of flack on that from both sides, being the Republican and Democratic Party. I think it's just more or less they're worried about what the public opinion is going to be of it, which I can understand. But again, as a normal U.S. citizen, it is not our right to know what is happening in operations that are happening overseas. If this was something happening here domestically in the U.S., then I might pitch a fit saying, hey, no, how long is this going to last? But it's not. Another key piece of information that made me jump up and down for joy, and I'm sure it made a lot of our brothers and sisters in arms and our troops, jump up and down for joy, is that he said, hey, guess what? We're not fighting them with pillowcases anymore. Those weren't his exact words. Those are, my own words in that. But what does that mean? It means restrictions that were put onto our military as far as our rules of engagement and such go have been lifted. He has essentially taken the handcuffs. He has untied the hands of our soldiers, Marines, airmen, sailors. He's freed our hands over there. We are now going to be given the authority to do what we need to do, not just to win battles, but to survive while over there. Now, you'll notice I'm saying we a lot. And when I say we, I'm not referring to, like you and I, because we're not going over there, unless, of course, you're stumbling onto my YouTube video and you're a member of our armed forces, in which case, hats off to you. I know firsthand exactly how trying of a job that is and what type of commitment that is. And believe me, it's not something that everybody is cut out to do. And, I certainly couldn't do it after the 9 years that I served. I couldn't continue to do it anymore. You guys are still doing it, and ladies too. So, hey, here's to you guys. And that, by the way, just to clarify one thing so nobody's throwing any false accusations at me, I'm drinking water. So, we now have the authority and the power and the peace of mind to take on such engagements without having to worry about any legal backlash coming back at us. Now, does that say that suddenly we're going to commit all kinds of atrocities and war crimes? No, of course we're not. And if anybody does, I hope they get caught and they suffer the full wrath of our military law. So, what exactly does all of this mean? Well, it means a lot. One, it means that we're going to be we're going to continue to be involved in an armed conflict that has become very unpopular. It's by far the largest armed conflict that the United States has been involved in since forever. World War II didn't even last as long as what this has lasted. What it also means is that we're going to be providing further security and training, God help us on this one, training to the Iraqi and Afghan forces, primarily the Afghan forces, because that's where a lot of stuff is still happening. You have to forgive some of the pauses. I want to make sure that I speak my mind appropriately on this one, because it is such a sensitive subject. Some further stuff is, he said, hey, we're going to get victory over there. Well, it's really hard to do that because we're not fighting a country that is governed by a particular set government. For those of you that are hoping that come to the end of this armed conflict, we're going to have a peace treaty signed somewhere with a foreign leader of some sorts, that's not going to happen. We're not fighting a country, we're fighting an insurgency, and we're fighting a very radicalized religious group. And it's to the point on their side that they are so committed to this that they will quite literally fight us until their last person keels over finally and dies. Rather that's they die in their bed of old age, or they die with a U.S. weapon of some sort, or an Iraqi-Afghani weapon of some sort, killing them. So the big challenge of this is going to be that we're already fighting war in two countries, on two fronts. We've got the conflict that's quickly escalating with, or I should say hostilities that are quickly escalating with North Korea. We've also got Iran. Iran certainly doesn't like us, and right now they're not one of our favorite people either. But another group that President Trump hit on was Pakistan. Now, Pakistan has told us that they're committed to helping us, but they've also proven that they're committed to hiding our enemies. Where was bin Laden finally found and killed? He was found and killed in Pakistan. Now, does this mean that we're going to start sending troops into Pakistan? I honestly don't think it does. We're probably going to start hitting them with some more and harsher, stricter sanctions, which will hopefully disrupt their economy a little bit, and they won't be able to have as free reign to hide these people as what they have in the past. Now, President Trump also brought India into the mix. India and Pakistan don't entirely get along, and I think it's going to be very important for those two countries to resolve whatever differences they have so that they can commit their own resources into fighting this global enemy, which is exactly what these terrorists are. They're hitting countries all over the world, and let's face it, we need everybody's help to do this. This includes Japan, this includes China, and this also, in my opinion, includes Russia. Now, the media has been hitting on the Trump administration since before Trump even got into the office in regards to Russia. Now, is this going to make it absolutely impossible for President Trump to negotiate with Russia and seek their help in doing this? Not entirely. I think it would be very feasible for him to set up some form of a conference with Russian President Putin to basically say, hey, we have mutual interest in this. And I think in order for us to both accomplish whatever goals we may both have in the Middle East, we're going to need to work together. Will the administration catch a lot of flack for this? Will they accuse him of continuing to have ties with Russia, as they've been accusing him of? Absolutely. That seems to be the primary tactic of the left and the Democratic Party, even though they've had very little to no success in doing so. it seems to be the headline that they want to continue to run with. But again, I think it's feasible. I don't think it's impossible to bring Russia to the table, and I hope that our country is able to do so with positive results. Now we go on to yet another front that we are in I don't want to say an armed conflict, but we are in essence in conflict with, and that is ourselves. President Trump said that our men and women of the armed forces deserve to be able to come home from their deployments, from combat tours overseas, to a nation that is not at war with itself. And unfortunately, right now we are. We are still very divided. Rather, you want to say we're divided by race. In some cases, we are. Is that President Trump's fault? Not entirely. As the president of our country, he most certainly has some inherent responsibilities in this, but it's not entirely on him. He received a full plate. He received a full plate of the Brussels sprouts and the tomatoes and all the other nasty stuff that none of us wanted to eat when we were kids, but we had to eat it anyway. That's what he's got. And that's not his fault. Unfortunately, that's something he's inherited, and as the President of the United States, he has to deal with. I said 6 years ago that my opinion was within the next 6 years, we being the United States, would no longer be the United States that we know or knew at the time. And gosh darn it, here we are 3 years later, and we most certainly are not the same country that I grew up in. We're not. We're very divided. We're very untrusting of each other. We're very paranoid of each other. And that's yet another combative front that we're fighting in. So it's going to be very difficult for us as a nation to accomplish a lot of the goals that we really as a nation need to accomplish. The war on terror definitely needs to have a victory, but the conflict that's divided us here in the U.S., I think we also need to be able to find some resolution in and achieve a victory in that as well. So President Trump's got a lot on his plate. With that said, I think his speech went very well last night, and I think he said everything right. Part of that might be he was reading from a teleprompter, which I honestly hope he does more of. But the last big thing that I really want to hit as far as overseas goes is that President Trump is doing this correctly. He's given the command authority needed to the generals and commanders that are on the ground over there. The Obama administration really tried to run and micromanage things from over here in the U.S. And to win a war overseas, to win a conflict overseas, you can't do that. You don't know what's going on from day to day to day when you're not there. You can't adapt to changes that are happening on the battlefield at that very moment when you're only finding out about them days later or even hours later. At that point there, it's already happened. And you certainly can't win when you're saying, well, okay, we get it, you get shot at from that building, but whatever you do, don't do anything bad to that building. Now, is that to say that we should start running into hospitals and schools? Of course not. The rules of war still apply, 100%. But does that mean if somebody shoots at us and then runs behind a building or a car and they drop their weapon and they come back out and they're running across the street or running somewhere else, that we should not still be able to shoot them? Oh, by all means, take their head off. take that person's head off. And that's what he's saying now. He's saying, hey, that guy tried to kill you people. That guy tried to kill our military men and women. Kill him. So a lot's going to start happening. I think that things in the Middle East are really going to start heating up again. Is it going to be as unpopular as ever? Yep. Yeah, it most certainly is. Is it something that I think needs to happen, though? Yes, I do. Speaking not just as an American citizen here in the U.S., but speaking also as a former infantryman, in the military. It's stuff that needs to happen. Armed conflict and wars are not pretty. And the last administration that was in the White House tried to make it pretty and tried to make it political, and we suffered for it. And I'm really happy that President Trump is saying to his generals, I don't have the military experience, but you guys do. You guys know what needs to happen. That's 3/4 of the reason why a Moab got dropped on a bunch of ISIS people. And not only were lots of ISIS members killed, but to my knowledge, there was not one single civilian casualty. The Obama administration can't claim that. The Bush administration can't claim that. We dropped the second largest weapon, more or less, the largest non-nuclear weapon in our arsenal on a specific target, and no good guys or innocent bystanders were injured or killed from it. And that in itself is pretty significant. So that's just my quick spiel on that. By all means, please leave your comments below and tell me what you think. Tell me where you think this is going. Because the more discussion we have on this, and the more people become aware of this, the far better things are going to be, I think. And the far more prepared we're going to be, I think, for what's going to come. Because like I said before, it's not going to be pretty. There are going to be casualties on both sides. This is an armed conflict. It's going to happen. But at least now, we're giving our fighters the resources needed to be able to do this fight. And one of those resources is going to be peace of mind. So, with that said, I am going to go ahead and sign off for the evening. As I stated before, please leave your comments. Let me know what's on your mind, and I will see you guys again on the next video.